the automatic routines, the autopilot take over for the stuff that needs to happen on a daily basis every single day. And that gives you the freedom. That is the scaffolding that the structure is built upon, that gives you the freedom to actually completely dictate how you live your life.
This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 289, How to Become a Sales Routine Machine, an interview with John Lamerton.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers. And today we're going to meet the king of routine, John Lamerton. He's got a new book out called The Routine Machine, How Successful People Improve Their Morning Routine, Daily Habits, and Guarantee Themselves Results. And I'm having John on the podcast because I'm a routine guy myself, and I believe great salespeople need to be disciplined. Because if you've got great routines, it frees your mind from worrying about things it doesn't need to worry about. In this episode, John gives us concrete examples and advice on how to simplify your life and at the same time, get yourself more productive. Now make sure and listen all the way to the end because Ethan Ide, one of the guys I work with at Fox Build, left me a terrific voicemail explaining how he used some of the advice that he learned here on Sales Babble, and from it won a huge deal. But before we get to that, let's move on to Jason. So, with no further ado, let's get to it. Welcome, John. Are you ready to babble?
Oh, I absolutely am, Pat. Yes.
John, you got a new book out. I have it in my hand. It's called Routine Machine, How Successful People Improve Their Morning Routine, Daily Habits, and Guarantee Themselves Results. This has been a fascinating book.
Oh, thank you.
I love this topic because there's a lot of these kinds of things that you speak about in this book I do every day, and things that I don't. How is it that you got on this routine kick?
I've always been interested in routines, and it's always been, I think, the superpower, and I'll use that term very, very loosely, the superpower that has driven me over the years to have success in my life, and it's where I notice it with other people. And it was a chance conversation on another podcast about 2 years ago now. We were talking about how I'd actually had some success, what had driven me to do that. And I went through some of the stuff that I do on a daily basis, some of the stuff that I do every week. And the host said to me, John, you're like the king of routine. Routine is so crucial to you. And I just immediately went, king of routine. Yeah, I'm having that. I came back. We went on a coaching call with one of our clients, and I mentioned this king of routine moniker. A week later, I get a package in the mail, and it's a T-shirt with King of Routine emblazoned on the front of it.
I've seen that photo on LinkedIn. That's hilarious. See, a lot of people don't want routine in their lives. They're looking for adventure. They're looking for fun.
Exactly. It's one of those things, people think, routine, this is rules. This is all rule-based, saying you can't do this, you can't do that. But everybody's got routines already, Pat. There's already stuff you do on a daily basis. There's already rules you live your life by. And to me, becoming a routine machine, optimizing the routine is about just tweaking it and consciously deciding what your daily routines are going to look like, what your rules are that you're going to live your life by.
There's something in the book that said something along the lines that the routines that you have now are conspiring against you. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, everyone thinks, okay, look, I can go out today. Let's say I've got a health goal and I want to lose some weight. I can go out today and I can eat a burger and I can have a milkshake and I can have fries with that, and that's absolutely fine. But if I do that twice a week for 6 months, then that little routine of just what I eat for lunch is conspiring against my goals. And we've all got goals. We've all got ambitions. We've all got things we want to achieve. And then we've got these little tiny habits that we do that actually are not congruent with the goal. So I've got to go. I'm doing a boxing match in about 2.5 months' time. So I should be in training for that boxing fight. I keep calling it a match. It's going to be a fight. There's going to be punching involved. But ultimately, I haven't started the training yet because officially the training starts in 10 days' time. So my routines are currently conspiring against my goal. My goal is to do well in the boxing match. Right now, my diet is not congruent with it. My exercise routine is not congruent with it. My mindset is not congruent with my goal.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting thing because I think people tie it into freedom. I'm free to choose what I want. There's lots of rules in my life. They tell me what to do at work. And my family tells me what to do, and my parents told me what to do. I want to be me.
Oh, exactly. We all do. We all want that freedom and the freedom to choose. But ultimately, if you have a structure to your day where you're making less, dare I say, trivial decisions, what to wear, what to have for lunch, the route to take to drive to the office, then you've actually got more capacity to be more flexible and to have more freedom in the rest of your lives. Just let the automatic routines, the autopilot take over for the stuff that needs to happen on a daily basis every single day. And that gives you the freedom. That is the scaffolding that the structure is built upon that gives you the freedom to actually completely dictate how you live your life.
I feel like I should be like finding examples of this where this doesn't work, but I'm really struggling because two things come in mind. I like to golf, right?
Yep.
And I have a pre-shot routine. And the more I've tuned that pre-shot routine, the higher probability I have of having a great shot on the course. Yeah. I find a target, I look at it, I get my hands placed properly on the club. I'm exactly the right distance. I do that little bit of waggle sound. I go, oh, that feels just about right. I relax a little bit in my hands. I take a breath, and then I just and it really works.
Yeah, and you forget one element of that routine, and it all goes to pot, doesn't it?
It does.
Or is that my golf game?
I also think too of the book. I think it was Eric Harrigal wrote the book Zen and the Art of Archery, and that's what that's all about. Was that you practice something so many times, you have a routine in how you do it so many times that without thinking, the arrow and the target become one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you remember when you first started golf and you picked up this club and it didn't feel natural, and you then had to take a swing. You don't think about any of that now. You mentioned your pre-shot routine, but I bet that pre-shot routine happens on autopilot now. You don't need to consciously think about any particular element of that routine unless you've previously forgotten to do a part of it or something's gone wrong in your shot that you think, okay, something's not quite right with the routine. But ultimately, you've developed this routine over a couple of years. You've perfected it. You've iterated every individual element of that pre-shot routine, which may take you 15 seconds. And now it just happens automatically. And if you see the world's best golfers, they spend the majority of their time honing these minute little things. How much of a breath do I take? What do I visualize? And that little tweak to the routine, obviously at that level, makes a huge, huge difference. But ultimately, Pat, you've optimized your golf swing and your golf pre-shot routine to deliver you the best shot on autopilot without needing to think about it.
I think you're giving me too much credit. I screwed up a lot too. But why don't we narrow in on here the whole reason? This is a sales podcast.
Yeah.
And this is about people, sales professionals, sales managers, owners of companies. What kinds of things, I think we've done a nice job here talking about the strategy, this idea that routine's a good thing. What kind of tactics, what kind of recommendations and advice do you have for things that people can do to really boost up their productivity and also like lower their anxiety, I think?
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things is if you've got this big, huge, scary target that you've got to make, you've got to make, I don't know, let's say you've got to make 17 sales a month. And if you know what your average conversion rate is, and you can break that down to just, I need to make 500 calls a month. Now, immediately, for some people, that's going to sound scary. It's going to be, how the hell am I going to do 500 calls a month? Well, actually, that's 125 a week. That's 25 a day. That's 5 an hour for 5 hours. So ultimately, I've got to make 5 calls this hour. Let's make that easy. Let's break it down and say, all you've got to do, you haven't got to make the sales. Don't worry about making the sales. Worry about making the calls. It sounds easy, doesn't it? It sounds so simple, but ultimately, you know that if you've got your script right and you've optimized, again, this part of the routine of the actual phone call itself, let's do the hard thing, which is picking up the phone. The hardest part of making the sales call is picking up the phone. It's knocking on the door. It's walking through the door and introducing yourself. It's that first line. If you pick up the phone, you take the shot. You give yourself the chance to make the sale. So if you need to do that 25 calls a day, 5 calls an hour, let's just set that up as a target and say, right, I need to do my 25 calls today. That's all I need to do. It doesn't matter if I get 1 sale, 2 sales, 0 sales. Does not matter at this point. Let's make the calls. Let's pick the phone up and do that. We, if you're a parent of a child, you will be familiar with the idea of a sticker chart. Eat your greens, eat your vegetables. We'll give you a sticker. Get 10 stickers in a row. You can have a frozen DVD. So let's do something similar for your sales professionals. Let's say I make my 25 calls today. You get a silver star. Fantastic. If you collect 5 silver stars in a week, you can upgrade that to a gold star. And if you get a gold star, you can exchange that for a Starbucks of your choice. If you get 5 gold stars in a row, you can exchange that for a meal out. And if you get 25 gold stars in a row, you're probably going to be the top salesman in your company.
I love it. A big part of this book, I noticed, you're all about the morning.
Well, I am, but I'm not a morning person. And this is
really,
I think,
really.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
because it's mornings all over this book.
I mean, morning routine is one of these things that everybody talks about, don't they? They always mention what's the morning routine of successful people. Well, my ideal morning routine is lying in bed till about 8:30 in the morning, which goes against the traditional answer of, well, I'm up at 5 a.m. I'm in the gym. I'm knocking out a park run before I'm in the office, 6 a.m., healthy green smoothie. It's, to me, having a morning routine is very important. What you do first off the bat in the morning is very, very important. It sets you up for the rest of the day. If the day starts well, it tends to end well. If the day doesn't start well, it doesn't tend to end well. But it doesn't need to start at 5 a.m. It doesn't need to start at 7 a.m. It can be completely customized. And one of the things I talked about in the book was this idea that we've all got a natural circadian rhythm. One of our clients literally were on a call last week and he said, I've just started getting up at 5 a.m. and I'm doing really, really good. I get up, I'm full of energy. I can really get some fantastic copy written. He's writing his sales scripts at the moment. I'm getting this copy written. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. And then I get to 9 a.m. and I'm shattered and I'm ready for bed. I drilled into his natural circadian rhythm. If it was the weekend, you didn't have an alarm, you had no reason to get up, what time would you wake? And he said, well, I'd probably wake up about 9 o'clock. So I said, well, you're clearly trying to wake up 4 hours before your natural circadian rhythm would be to wake. And then you wonder why things aren't panning out too well for you. Morning routines are great. You can get up early, you can smash it, you can be brilliant. But that may not be right for you. And what I talk about in the book is optimizing your morning routine for you. Trust me, I've tried getting up at 5 a.m. And for me, it was a nightmare. The rest of the house didn't wake up. The house was in darkness. The heating wasn't on. I was tiptoeing around, trying not to wake everyone up. And then, by 9 a.m., I was ready to go back to bed.
I'm often up at 5:30. And I feel lazy compared to my wife. She's up before me.
That would work out okay for us, Pat, 'cause if you're up at 5:30 with the time zone difference, that is mid-morning for me. That's fine.
Oh, yeah, that works for you. Where are you at, by the way?
I'm in Plymouth, which is kind of in the southwest of Britain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I normally say sunny Plymouth, but it's not too sunny at the moment.
No, yeah, it's not sunny here. It's not in Chicago today. It's gray and foggy. Something I thought was interesting in the book, you had some interesting points of view on to-do lists.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the to-do list.
Maybe you could go into that. If you could dig into that, I would appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've got scraps of paper all over my desk. I'm sat at my desk now. I can put my hands on a version of my to-do list. But I do not agree with to-do lists because you find you start the week with your to-do list. And you write out everything you want to do this week, and you'll have 17 items on there. And by the end of Monday, you'll be up to about 19 items because you'll have struck some off and you'll have started with the easy ones, the quick wins that don't move your business forward, that don't actually move the needle, that don't make any sales. But hey, they're quick wins. And the goal for the week then becomes clearing my to-do list, reducing my to-do list. And you end up, by the end of the week, you started the week with 17 items on your to-do list. You maybe finish with 11 on there. Nothing meaningful has been achieved. And you feel guilty for the 11 things you haven't done. So I prefer to have a could-do list, which is a kind of...
I love this.
I literally...
The could-do list.
A could-do list, exactly. It's a brain dump. Everything that I could do. I'm not telling myself, you have to do this, but, yeah, you could do this. Let's explore that opportunity. And there will be things that I write down on my could-do list that will never get done. And I won't waste a minute trying to get them done. I won't waste a minute exploring them, but they're written down. They're out of my mindset. So I'm no longer kept awake at night by this brilliant idea. And trust me, Pat, I have had numerous $1 million ideas. If I look at the only place I need to look at for my $1 million ideas is my 123 Reg account, because all my unexpired domains that I bought 2 years ago were those brilliant ideas I had in the middle of the night that were all going to be $1 million ideas. But ultimately, if I'd stuck it on a could-do list, maybe one day I'll get around to doing that. And I start my week now and I plan my week out. I still have things that I need to do. But where do I go first? I go to my could-do list and I triage it. If you go into the emergency department of your local hospital with whatever ailment, they will perform triage on you. They will decide, is your leg hanging off? Is your life in the balance? If so, guess what? You jump to the top of the queue. If you've got a bruise on your leg, or you've just badly bruised yourself, you're going to be at the bottom of the list. And you need to do the same with your could-do list. Let's triage it. Let's say what's important, what's urgent, what needs to be done, what's actually going to give me the biggest bang for my buck, what's going to give me the greatest return. Okay, let's do that first. Doing the bookkeeping, probably not going to reach the top of the list. Tidying the office, yeah, it'll keep you busy, but it's not going to move the needle. And it's that difference between having a to-do list, which is full of guilt, anxiety, regret, and the opportunity to cherry pick the quick wins that actually aren't wins, versus the could-do list of, let me absolutely analyze everything that's on here, find out what's going to give me the greatest return on investment, and just do that. And it's that mindset to be able to say, I'm maybe only going to do one thing this entire week. And that's all I'm going to do. Everything else on my to-do list, isn't going to get done. And that's absolutely fine.
I really like the idea of having this list, because currently I will make this big long list, and then after I make it, I try to rank order them. I try to like say, what's a high, what's a medium, what's a low. Let's just work on the mediums, but they're kind of buried in with the other ones, and the other ones are staring there, reaching out to you saying, do me, do me, do me.
Easy. I'll only take you 10 minutes. 10 minutes and we're done, and you can cross me off. And that is so satisfying, isn't it? To just cross something off your list.
Yeah.
But it's not going to get you where you want to go, is it?
Another thing I thought that was interesting in the book was you had an interesting goal planning process. Maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, so a lot of what I like to do in my goals is, again, I'm triaging everything. So I start with my could-do list, and I will plan out everything I could do in the business. Now, there will be some stuff in there that's mentally huge stuff to do. Oh, I want to write a brand new book. I want to go on a world speaking tour. Great. Stick it on the list. What I would then do is triage that and say, okay, out of the 138 items on my could-do list, what are the 3 biggest in terms of return on investment, bang for the buck, that I can do, that I can actually achieve in the next 90 days? And I've played about with the timescales. I've done annual goal setting. I've done monthly goal setting. For me, 90 days is the magic number, that it's long enough a period that you can achieve something meaningful. It's not a flash in the pan, but it's short enough that it's not too far away. Like my boxing has been a little bit too far away. It's not quite close in mind. It's going to get very real very quickly. But if you set yourself a goal, and let's say, Pat, your goal was to improve your golf swing this year, or you want to knock 4 strokes off your game this year. If you don't start playing until May, well, okay, a few months have gone by. That's fine. I've still got the rest of the year. And then maybe, June and July, the weather isn't great and work takes over. It's fine. I've still got several months left to do it. And then you get to the fall and it's kind of, it's October, it's November time. I haven't really got long enough now to do the work that needs to be done. So that doesn't get done. And so for me, 90 days is the crucial time. So we drill it down and we say, right, we take the massive could-do list. Let's drill that down into 3 things that we're going to do in 90 days. And that's all we're going to do. And a lot of this is saying no to stuff, Pat. It's about saying, I'm not going to do the other 135 things on the could-do list. I'm going to do these 3. And the focus and the clarity that gives you, instead of thinking, oh my God, I've got over 100 things to do. No, I've got 3. That's 3 things that I'm working on right now. And I can keep that in my head all the time. So when I'm on a sales call, or when I'm out networking, or when I'm meeting with colleagues, what you're working on at the moment, I can tell you exactly what I'm working on at the moment, because there's only 3 things that I'm ever working on. And they're always front of mind. They're always, literally, I'm looking at my goals right now. They are sat in front of me. If I had 138 goals, I might remember 7 or 8. But give me 3 things to remember. And I've identified they are the 3 biggest things that are going to move me forward the most in the next 3 months. Yeah, I'm going to get them done.
Of course, as a boxer, you can probably appreciate the Mike Tyson quote, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
I'm going to be living that on the 23rd of November. It's funny, when I announced I was going to be doing the boxing, that was the exact quote I used, was that Mike Tyson quote. It's very true, and ultimately this is where your routines come in, is because, you can have the best plan in the world, but ultimately life will kick you in the balls. And when that happens, as I say, we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of it's normally training, but I'll insert the word routines there. And this is where we fall back to our routines. So when it's autopilot, when it happens automatically, when it's as natural as brushing your teeth in the morning, which trouser leg do you put on first? There will be a natural way you do things. And if that can be, if working on the most important part of your business first thing in the morning is natural to you. It just happens that the minute you sit at your desk, you don't open your email inbox, you don't look at social media, you just crack out 60 to 90 minutes of focused work on the one thing you know you should be working on. That happens automatically. Then when you get that punch in the face, you automatically go back there. Yes, you'll have stuff that needs your attention, that will be real urgent stuff. You know, when a tax man comes calling or when your key member of staff walks out, you're going to have to deal with that stuff. But where do you go back to after that? What's your base level of that? And can you still stick with that routine whilst being punched in the face? Because that's important. If you are the type of person who says, I get my one thing done every single day and I'm going to stick to the plan, and I am the sort of person that sticks to the plan, well, it may be you get a punch in the face and immediately the first thing you do is make a new plan.
I love it. John, how can people find you online?
The easiest way is via the website, which is routinemachine.co.uk. You can get a free chapter of the book there. That is a British web address for those that are unfamiliar with the .co.uk. So routinemachine.co.uk. I'm on all the socials as well. So it's just John Lamerton. And obviously the book is available on Amazon as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, John, this has been a lot of fun. Hey, I wish you good luck in your boxing match.
Thank you very much. I think I may need it. I'll come back on in a few months' time with like a broken nose and a black eye.
All
I'm
right.
going to stick to I think.
Well, well, thanks for visiting us here on Sales Babble.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for having me, Pat.
To connect with John and to get a free copy of his book, The Routine Machine, you can find the links in the show notes at www.salesbabble.com/289.
Hi, Pat. It's Ethan Ide, your buddy here from Fox Build. Wanted to just share with you a quick story I had this week, a nice selling success based on some of your advice. I was listening to your podcast last week, and you mentioned about, following up with people more than other sellers. And, I sell high-end cameras for science research, and less than 2 years ago, I was kind of in the same position that you've been at Bell Labs. I was working at a biomedical company as an engineer, and I was just about to make my jump into sales. Anyway, you mentioned that you sometimes would follow up with people about 8 times, and I looked and I had a pretty hot lead that had gone cold, and I'd probably followed up with them 6 or 7 times, and the last probably 4 times had been no response. They've been pretty interested, but then went radio silent. So, I reached out asking them basically if they needed anything or if they wanted me to stop bugging them, if their situation had changed, because I didn't want to waste my time anymore, but I also didn't want to waste theirs. But the customer wrote me back the other day and said that they had been unsure about if they needed a new camera at this time for their project, but me reaching out has reminded them that they did in fact decide they needed it, and they asked for a quotation and they're ready to buy and send me an order. So wanted to say thanks for the good advice and a reminder. I think what you teach really works, and keep on babbling. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Is that awesome or what? Hey, last month we had a record-breaking month of downloads on Sales Babble. I think it's because you're actually taking action. The action that I'm getting ready to ask you again. If you could share this podcast with your friends, I would really appreciate it. Because that's how podcasts get distributed. It's a viral thing. It's like sneezing, and next thing you know, everybody's got a cold. Sneeze Sales Babble to your friends, to your colleagues. Because that would help me immensely grow the Sales Babble podcast. If you got a question or comment about anything on this podcast, don't hesitate to reach out and give me a call or send me an email. Many listeners do. I love hearing from you. That's all I got for this week, folks. Until next Tuesday, take care and have a highly successful and a profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.